Hey Fly Tires, welcome back. I'm Matt, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Now I've got a super simple pattern for you today. This one's called the Partridge and Green. Now we've talked about these type flies before, North Country spiders and their history. We know they were mentioned in Dame Juliana Berner's 1496 book, A Treatise on Fishing with an Angle, but they didn't really become popular in the United States until Sylvester Neames published his book in 1975 called The Soft Hackled Fly. Now we haven't talked a lot about Sylvester in this series, but I'll make it a point to because he's really a legend in soft hackle and wet fly type fishing. Now I got this fly from Dave Hughes' book Wet Flies. Now this was published in 2015 and I can't believe I've just now gotten it, but it's an amazing book and I'm going to do a review of it in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. But speaking of today's fly, super simple. The trademark of these flies is just a very thin, either thread or floss body, either with or without a small thorax, and then a partridge or grouse, maybe a starling type, very sparsely tied hackle up front. But don't let the simplicity of these flies fool you. I mean, they are fish catchers. That's why they've been popular for 500 years. I think you're going to like today's fly. Let's give it a shot. There it is in the vise, the Partridge and Green. But hey, don't let the simplicity of this fool you into thinking this is not a great fish catching fly. I'm tying this on a size 12. Can be tied smaller as well. 14 to 16 even. It's a 1X long wet fly hook. And I'm going to put down a small short base of green thread. This is light olive. Not going too far back, and then take my thread back up to where I started. So we're going to tie this hackle in Dave Hughes style. So take a partridge feather. This is from a Hungarian partridge, one of the top shoulder feathers, and just strip off all the fluff on the bottom till you get fibers that are going to be the length you want. So I think that maybe 1-2 more off the top. I like to get them even when possible. Okay, that looks pretty even right there. Even enough. Now, tips forward. So laying right on top of the hook, I'm going to put a loose wrap right there. Now this partridge is not a strong feather, but it's not brittle either. It's pretty pliable and pretty soft. So you don't have to worry about breaking them unnecessarily. And you see that? I'm going back. That stem is squishing pretty flat against the hook. So I'm going to do several wraps back, not too far, probably not even a third before I snip this off. Now, this is the part you want to take your time on and make sure you get it right. How far up do we want to go? See, if I left it right there, that's going to be too much of a head. So I'm going to take a few more wraps forward. And this is maybe just trial and error. After you've done a few, you'll have to take a look at it and see. I think that's still too much head, so I'm going to go 2 more wraps forward right there. I think that's going to be how big I want the head. Now, let's lay our thread back. And you don't have to worry about this step down between that stem and the hook because we're going to have a thorax on right there. Now this is 70 denier, it's UTC thread, so this will flatten out if you spin it. See, I'm putting a very flat base on that thread and on the hook, and we're gonna take it back just really about to the point, maybe slightly behind it. And recall that every wrap you make on the hook will give your thread one more spin clockwise. So if you need to flatten it back out, just give it a counterclockwise spin like that right there. Now we'll put our second layer, touching turns, just going right back up. And it's a very short body. Okay, so that is pretty much what our body right there is going to be. Maybe go 1 more forward. And we're going to do a very small thorax. Now this part is even optional, but I think the fly looks a lot better with it. So I'm putting wax on for maybe an inch, maybe 1.5 inches. And the thorax, it's going to be Hare's mask. So I'm going to take just a small pinch right at the base of the ear. and then mix in just a little bit of the under fur down by the cheek. So this is about all I've got right there. It's a little bit of under fur and several guard hairs. Now I'm just going to spin it on here into a fairly tight little noodle that might be an inch long, if that. And don't worry about it being buggy. We kind of want it to be buggy. Okay, so that's our thorax right there. Notice my thread is still behind this hackle. So I'm going to take the hackle and I'm going to pull some of the fibers that are closest to the hook out perpendicular. Just kind of separate them from the tip. And that gives me my, where I'm going to be able to grab it with the hackle pliers. So I've got that tip right there, and I'm going to take my hackle pliers and grab it, well down on there. You can't grab it too close or you won't have enough to wrap, but if you grab it too close to the tip, it won't be strong enough to really hold it. So I'm going to put my wraps right behind that thread. Now there's one, and am I going to have enough room for one more? I think so, but just barely. So let's get this one more down here. Now my hackle is behind the thread, and when I take my thread, I'm going to do 2 wraps going up in front of it. So from behind the hackle pliers to up here over in front of it, now I've got that stem caught in, and I can reach in here and snip this little bit of excess off right here. Now that's my big buggy spider looking hackle. So what I'll do next is, you kind of want these all the way around. So just make sure they're, coming off all sides of the hook. And then just pull them back and take as many wraps as you need to really lock them in, which shouldn't take too many, and to build your head. So I think that is going to be enough right there. I've got a small little head. It's going to be enough room for a whip finish. And when I let go of these hackle fibers here, they should be swept back a little bit, but coming up as well. So mostly swept back, but then you can pull them out. That gives you the more of the spider look. So I think we're fine right there. We've got room for the whip finish. Got some fuzz on my hook right there. Probably a 4 turn will be fine right here. And then some varnish or head cement or UV resin, however you like to finish your flies. And the Partridge and Green is done. So I told you, very simple fly, very easy to tie, but don't let the simplicity fool you. This can be a great, very effective pattern. So that's it, my friends. I appreciate you watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.